His resiliency, his ability to overcome obstacles and hurdles and not react emotionally, it needs to be studied by these younger athletes. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, hope all of you having a great Monday. Hope all of you having a great start to your week. If not, hope this video can make it a little bit better. Man, oh man, we got to talk about the Super Bowl. I wish I could sit up here and tell you, man, we got a lot to talk about. There's a lot of controversial things we're going to get into. Did the refs rig the game, etc., etc. But in reality, that's not what this video is going to be about because there's not a lot to talk about. I want you to stay and watch the video and enjoy your time here. But long story short, I mean, you already know this or should know this. The Eagles, they blew them out. They dominated them. It was a bloodbath. The final score is extremely deceiving. Wasn't even that close. This was a 30-point game. And by the way, since I'm thinking about it, I got to bring it up and talk about it in the beginning of this video. I think it's very funny how all these NFL fans, and if you're on Twitter, you know what I'm talking about, they always say, oh, in college football, there's way too many blowouts, there's no parity, etc., etc. They go on and on and on about how there's way too many blowouts in college football. In the NFL, no, every single game's close. The worst team can beat the best team. Well, if you watch this year's playoffs, you would know there was a ton of blowouts, and most importantly, there was a blowout in the freaking Super Bowl. It's being a hypocrite at its finest. Let's just call it for what it is. But we're not going to divulge into that too much. First things first, you know we like to do this for the winners. Clap it up, clap it up. To the Philadelphia Eagles, that fan base, happy for y'all. And Jalen Hurts, Devontae Smith, all the former Alabama players, congratulations. Now that I think about it, the Philadelphia Eagles are pretty much just a combination of Georgia and Alabama. That's it. They had a good season. Am I shocked that the Eagles won the Super Bowl? No, because did you see their defense this year? They were insane, and they were insane in this ball game. They made Patrick Mahomes, who is arguably at this point in time maybe the second greatest quarterback to ever play in the NFL, look like a straight-up bum. That was the worst game I've seen Patrick Mahomes play since, man, I'm trying to think. I don't know. It's been a while. I've never seen him play that bad. Granted, and I already know some of you Timothys and Bobbies about to run and fly to the comment section. Hold up, Bobby. I'm getting there. Just hear me out. His offensive line was trash. I've said it before, I'm going to say it again. I don't care if you're freaking Tom Brady. We saw it in his final year in Tampa Bay. If your offensive line can't hold up, they can't protect, you don't have any time to pass, you're not going to have a good game. The Chiefs did not do a good job of protecting him. However, he didn't do a good job himself when he did have time, and he made two crucial mistakes. Threw the pick six to the fan favorite, the white boy, Cooper DeJean. DeJean took that back for six, and y'all have all heard the Cooper DeJean song. It's going everywhere. The Cooper DeJean is not a safety. You know, I'm not going to sing it too much, but if you know, you know. Then after that, he threw another interception, and next thing you look up, yeah, this game's over. It's 24-0. When DeJean took that first interception back to extend the lead from 10-0 to 17-0, I didn't feel like the game was over. I was like, okay, they got Mahomes. They can come back. But when the Eagles took a 24-0 lead, that's when I was like, yeah, it's all but over. Because it wasn't like the Chiefs were just continuing to shoot themselves in the foot. You got to give credit to the Eagles. They were forcing them to make those mistakes. The only thing the Chiefs did good all night long, whether that be on the offensive side of the ball or the defensive side of the ball, was they held Barkley to 2.3 yards per carry. He had 25 rushes for 57 yards. Like I said, though, outside of that, the Chiefs, they didn't do anything. We talked about the Chiefs' offense and Patrick Mahomes a little bit. Let's talk about the Eagles when they had the ball. Just like every single game this year, it wasn't flashy at all, and they just did what they needed to do. They tried to establish a run. Jalen Hurts is going to have anywhere from 7 to 10 carries per game, and he's also going to take care of the football. He did have that one bad interception early on in the game, but didn't really hurt him too much. They got it right back. Shout out to their defense. Outside of that one interception, and he had pressure in his face, but we'll still blame that on Jalen Hurts. He was, he was dang near flawless. 17 for 22, 221 passing yards, 2 touchdowns to only, like I said, that one interception. QBR of 75.4. What makes Jalen Hurts so interesting is he's not going to make that play that makes you go, oh my goodness, that was insane, like Patrick Mahomes or Josh Allen. But here's what he does do. He plays the game the right way. He takes care of the football. He's one of the most calm, cool, and collected quarterbacks I've ever watched dating back to his high school years. I remember watching some film on him before he got to Alabama when he was playing his high school football in Texas. The guy had zero emotion, whether he threw for 500 yards or threw for 5 yards. It didn't matter. Calm, cool, and collected. And that's what you like out of your quarterback. I wound up tweeting this out during the game. If you don't follow the Twitter, feel free to do so. It's unreal how much Jalen Hurts has improved as a thrower. When he was at Alabama, he couldn't hit the broadside of a barn. regard. Many people have forgotten how terrible of a passer he actually was. His best trait was always his decision making. Here's the kicker with that. A lot of people were not keeping up with Mr. Jalen Hurts when he was a freshman and sophomore at the University of Alabama. But I was. It's one of those things where if you were keeping up with him like I was, you know exactly what I'm talking about. I've watched a lot of quarterbacks play for Alabama, and I say this confidently. Jalen Hurts, as a freshman and sophomore at Alabama, was one of the worst passers I've ever seen. I know Jalen Milroe's got something to say about that. He may be sitting here watching this video and say, hey, Matt, hold my beer, but that's a different conversation for a different day. And a lot of people are going to go crazy when I say this, but Jalen Milroe this year and last year, I know he ended on a rough note and he had a rough stretch, but he's a better passer than what Hurts was as a freshman, sophomore at Alabama. People are going to have recency bias and, they're going to be deriding Jalen Hurts. That's fine. And hey, I'm not trying to sit up here and talk bad about him. I love Jalen Hurts. I'm a Bama fan. I've been rooting for the guy. How could you hate him? He's one of the most humble people out there. Jalen Hurts, he couldn't even complete a 5-yard slant. He couldn't even... Okay, this is how bad it was. He struggled when he was getting through his progressions and he finally got to the flat, the running back out there in the flat. He struggled to even complete those passes. The only thing that made Jalen Hurts so good at Alabama, well, there's two things. Number one, his legs, but number two, and this is at the top of the totem pole, his decision making. Jalen Hurts possessed a trait that Nick Saban loved in his quarterbacks in his time at Alabama. He took care of the football. He didn't put it in harm's way. Don't get what I'm saying twisted. Jalen Hurts was a good quarterback. Overall, top to bottom at Alabama, but he wasn't great, and where he struggled the most was passing. His passing was so bad, as a matter of fact, he got benched in the national championship game for a true freshman quarterback in Tua Tagovailoa. We all know what happened next. Tua comes in, saves the day, then Jalen Hurts goes to Oklahoma. Now, here's where things get interesting. Jalen Hurts at Oklahoma progressed a ton. When I was watching him in that OU offense, and maybe you can credit some of that success to Lincoln Riley, I don't know, really different conversation for a different day. He was really slinging that rock, and he looked like a confident passer, way confident than he was at Alabama. And you know what you can chalk that up to? His work ethic. That's all Jalen Hurts knew then. It's all he knows now is grind, grind, grind. It's also not rocket science that the more you do something, eventually, for 99% of people out here, the better you're going to get at it. Jalen Hurts worked on his game, got to Oklahoma, balled out, he dang near won the Heisman Trophy. Fast forward time, he's at the Eagles, and we've seen what have happened the past couple of years. One thing that I've picked up on, and it's why I always knew he could potentially be a good quarterback in the NFL, if not great, he's already great right now, is he did not struggle when it comes to reading defenses. For example, Jalen Milroe at Alabama, who's now heading to the NFL draft, he'll never be a good NFL quarterback because he can't read a defense. Jalen Hurts was always able to get through his progressions and make the right read. He just couldn't make the throw. And like we were just talking about, he worked on his throwing and bada boom, bada bing. Yeah, he's one of the best in the league. And it's not even like Jalen Hurts is an okay passer. No. He throws a really pretty ball. He has zip on it, accuracy, everything. I mean, you saw it last night. It was on full display. I'm proud of him, man. I really am. And I hope a lot of these college athletes and younger kids, whether you be in middle school or high school, they're taking notes. I knew the type of person Jalen Hurts was when he got benched and he didn't throw a hissy fit. 99.9% of people watching this video, I want you to think about this. Put yourself in Jalen Hurts' shoes. Imagine you led your team, Alabama, to back-to-back national championship appearances. The year prior, Jalen Hurts dang near won the game against Clemson until Deshaun Watson came back and they put up like 40-something points. Jalen Hurts then leads his team to another national championship and he gets benched. Most people out in here be like, what? I'm getting benched? Everything I've done for this team, I was freshman of the year in the SEC, won all these accolades, and I'd go on and on and on, you get the point. You'd be sitting on the sidelines, you'd be pouting. But you know what Jalen Hurts did in that second half against Georgia when Tua was in there balling out? He was the first person to hype him up when he was throwing touchdowns and congratulate everybody when they were scoring. And nobody was more excited when Tua threw that game-winning touchdown than Jalen Hurts. He was the first one to storm the field. He's the ultimate team player, and that part of his story doesn't get talked about enough. How about this? Not only did he get benched in that game, he decides to come back the following season and have a quarterback battle with Tua, and like everybody knew, Tua won the job, and he didn't enter the portal then and there. No, he stuck it out the entire season. The guy who led the team to 2 national championships was cool with being the backup quarterback. Never had a bad attitude, none of that. And guess what happened? Tua wound up getting hurt, and who came in to save the day? Jalen Hurts in the SEC Championship against Georgia. That was one of my favorite moments as an Alabama fan. That was something you would see in a movie. His resiliency, his ability to overcome obstacles and hurdles and not react emotionally, it needs to be studied by these younger athletes. So happy for him, and I don't believe anybody deserves anything in this life, but if there was one person who deserved to win the Super Bowl and have a great performance, it was Jalen Hurts with everything he's been through. Shout out to Devontae Smith, too. I think he's one of the 4 only players ever to win the Heisman Trophy, national championship, and a Super Bowl. Also want to speak on this. It's also a testimony to life that, let's just say, for the sake of this video, you're doing really good in life at the age of 22, and your buddy is struggling at the age of 22. Well, just because you're doing good early in your 20s doesn't mean you won't be doing bad in your 20s, and vice versa for your buddy. Let's say if you're watching this video, you're in your early 20s and life's hard on you. Well, it don't mean you won't turn around by the time you get into your 30s. You're probably sitting there going, Matt, what the crap are you talking about? I'm talking about the Tua and Jalen Hurts comparison. They're not struggling or anything, but just a situation. Imagine telling somebody after Tua threw that game-winning touchdown pass in the national championship that Jalen Hurts was going to have a way more successful NFL career. You see what I'm saying? I'm not saying Tua peaked or anything, but it's just fascinating how life works. Tua, without a shadow of a doubt, was the much better quarterback in college. It wasn't even close. But now it's not even close, to me at least. Jalen Hurts is the much better NFL quarterback compared to Tua. Funny how this thing we call life works. Many more things I could say. I wanted off here. Let me know your thoughts down below. But